ask me today, what is this about? So what this is about is an organization should have a strategic plan that tells the organization how are you addressing major goals that the organization has over a time period. The time period that the organization has selected is a 3-year period. So over this process, over the next 3 to 4 months, we're going to be working within teams together, residents, board members, staff, community leaders, people from Lakeland Regional, people from the community at large who have an expertise in the areas that we're focusing on. So if you're here today, or if you're on this call, you are somebody that's been selected because you have an expertise in the area that we're focusing on, and you've expressed an interest in the specific goal or area that you've been assigned to. So that's how it was determined of which residents, which board members, which staff would be asked to be on a committee, an action team. So before we formally get started, I just wanted to make sure there was a little more clarity that people had. Once you get the PowerPoint information, it'll be more clear to you as well. So why don't we go ahead and get started? It's part of our ministry and mission. We start our meetings in prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing our residents, our staff, our community leaders, our experts in the field here together, looking at and considering the future of our organization, our ministry that is Florida Presbyterian Homes. It is your ministry, it is your mission. We are here to do your work, be your heart, your soul, your hands, your eyes here on earth in supporting and serving the older adults, the staff, their families, in service and ministry that is Florida Presbyterian Homes. As we kick off this process today, in defining over the next 3 years how the organization will seek to meet your ministry and enhance the service and care that we provide, we need you to be by our side every step of the way. We need you to be with us, guiding us, giving us direction every step of the way as we move through this process. We thank you, we honor you, in your name we pray, amen. So what is the purpose of this? The purpose is to initiate the 2021 strategic planning process. So today is the beginning of that process. Each of you has been invited to participate on at least one, some of you more, action teams. Those action teams consist of residents, board members, staff, community leaders, experts from the outside community. We have people from our state associations. We have people from home health agencies, experts in knowledge and wisdom that we all come together and work together to define the next 3 years, the key areas that this organization will focus on. We have basic goals for today. One of the goals was that technology works. So we're down one. So we'll have to address these other goals and be really successful with these other goals to make up for where we're at with technology. Hopefully, when you leave here today, you'll know which team you're on. You'll understand why you've been asked to be on that team. You'll have an understanding of how your team, what kind of a process your team is going to go through to define an action plan. And that we're just going to go through the basic structure of process for strategic planning. So you'll understand how this process is going to work over the next few months. So those are the goals for today, that when you leave here, you'll say, I understand what the strategic plan is about. I understand what my role is and the role of my action team. And I have a good idea on what the process is going to be of how we're going to move forward. Over a year ago, more than a year and a half, the board asked the residents and the staff for input on our mission and our vision statement. We asked residents and staff. We did a survey. We had about 65 residents that participated. All were invited. We had about 55 staff who participated. All were invited. The feedback that we got was primarily there wasn't a clarity around our mission. There wasn't a clarity around the vision. A mission is supposed to define who we are, who we serve, and how we make a difference for the people we serve. The organization, with that feedback, the board redefined the mission. The new mission statement is Florida Presbyterian Homes is a nonprofit life plan community whose ministry is to serve older adults. So we answered who we are, we answer who we serve, from all faiths, with holistic, compassionate care and support in maintaining independence and achieving greater wellness. So our mission identifies now who we are, who we serve, and how we're going to make a difference, and what our organization's value proposition is. A vision is supposed to identify where you're going. It's supposed to paint a picture of a direction. And the vision statement definition now is Florida Presbyterian Homes to create a neighborhood centered on valuing and enhancing the quality of life for each resident, making ours a premier life plan community. Life plan community is a terminology meaning that in our field that we provide all levels of support, all levels of living, from residential living in the houses to independent living apartments, assisted living, skilled care, and short-term stay rehab. We talk about neighborhood a lot. You'll see in a lot of our documentation the term neighborhood. One of the things that differentiates us from our competition is within our campus, we have neighborhoods. We have neighborhood leaders that come from our resident population that help their neighborhood residents on their floor, on their block. We are, unto ourselves, a neighborhood. We joke around with staff every once in a while that Mr. Rogers wasn't Mr. Rogers' community. It was Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. And what that connotates is a group of people who come together and help each other out. And that's really at the core of this planning process. In the 26 years that I've been working in this field, and prior to that working in hospital setting, I've seen where an organization would pay a consultant to draft a strategic plan. The consultant would spend a couple of months, you'd spend a lot of money, you'd get a booklet, and they'd say, here's your strategic plan. And in the organizations I was in, our management team would read it and go, boy, this doesn't seem like us at all. That's not a good way to go. Another way that I've seen it done is a really small group of managers come together and put together a plan without any input, without any experience, knowledge, wisdom beyond the people sitting in that room. The way that I've seen that works best and is most effective is when we bring people from the resident population, the staff population, board members, community leaders, community experts, family of residents into the discussion. So that's what we're starting today, bringing that discussion forward and moving that initiative forward. What will the final product look like? In terms of format, the final product is a spreadsheet that you have a copy of a sample of an organization I worked with called Oakwood in Madison, Wisconsin. In that sample, you see what is the goal, what are we trying to achieve, what's the goal, how do we measure that goal, how are we going to measure that goal going forward, and then you see to the left in the column action steps. So that's what we're working on. We're working on, each of us are on a team that's been assigned a goal, and we have action steps. And that's the action plan. We define specifically how are we going to meet that goal over the next 3 years. And then we define who is responsible for leading and facilitating that effort, and then who else is participating in that action step to make sure that action step gets done. The reason why you see in our planning process, managers will be assigned the lead. So on your action team, one of our management staff is assigned to lead and facilitate that action team. The reason why is accountability. The managers are accountable to me, I'm accountable to the board. So we have to have that accountability in the leadership of the process. I'm joking with the resident in another facility I was at, that nobody ever fired a resident for doing a bad job leading a process, of strategic planning. It doesn't happen. So you have to have somebody who can be held accountable. So management is the group that leads not only this planning process on your action teams, but also will lead the development of action steps. And then each action step has a timeline. It should be completed by this date. And then there's an associated cost, many times, for each of the action steps that we define. So the ultimate product will be a document that will have each of our 5 pillars, our strategic pillars, the areas we're focusing on, the goals underneath each of those pillars, and an action plan for each of those goals. It'll likely be in a binder format, very much looking like this. The key is it has to remain alive. We don't want to just develop a document that we can pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, now we have a 3-year strategic plan. This is something that will be reviewed with our management team and our staff on a quarterly basis, and with our planning committee of the board and the board on a quarterly basis. It will be a living document. So let's say that one of our action steps is saying that we're going to go down this path and it's going to improve the organization in this way. And then something happens. Let's say the government cuts a funding platform, and our whole action plan was reliant on that funding platform. Well, you don't just go, well, let's just keep doing what we were going to do anyway. You stop. It's like a map. Your strategic plan is a map. If you get to a bump in the road or a cutoff in the road, you don't drive through it. You turn and you adjust. And that's what a strategic planning document is. It's a map. It's a road map. We continue to gather information. If something suggests we need to take a different route, we as management bring it to the board and say, based on this information, we're recommending to the planning committee to take a different route. If you don't have a plan like this, how do you know where you're going? You don't. You're just kind of, what I call it is the hamster wheel. You're just constantly running, and issues come up, and you try to address the issues, but you're not moving forward. You're just constantly on the hamster wheel. So this plan is critical, and you've been invited and thankfully have accepted the role of defining the action plans, providing your input, providing your expertise. Ultimately, once the action plan is defined, it goes to management. Management reviews the action plans. They may make adjustments to those action plans, bring them to the board. The board may look at the action plans, make adjustments. The board has the ultimate authority to finalize what is the action plan for each organization. So we're really fortunate to have membership from you, the residents, from the staff, from community experts, community leaders in this planning process. I referred to earlier the planning pillars. So when the board was developing the mission, the vision, once that was completed, we said, what are 4 or 5 areas that are most important to this organization? What are the 4 or 5 areas that are the most important to this organization? And we listed and created, and the board presented these 5 pillars. 1, resident quality of life. That's why we're here. I mean, this is our center of who we are and what we do is resident quality of life. Employee satisfaction. If the employees aren't happy, the residents aren't happy. That's a reality in our field, in this career that I've experienced. It's key to retain and recruit qualified employees. And if they're not happy, it impacts the quality of life for our residents. Healthcare excellence. We're blessed with an amazing facilities in our assisted living and our skilled care. And healthcare excellence has to be a priority for this organization on an ongoing basis. Now, how that gets defined may change and may adjust within the strategic plan, but that's an area that the organization has made a strong commitment to make sure that we're providing exceptional care to our residents. Financial stewardship and sustainability. No mission, no margin. No margin, no mission. In a not-for-profit, faith-based, you have to have both. You have to have a mission that is driving the organization from a center of faith, and you have to have a margin to support that mission. Whenever we do new employee orientation, I always say, if I had a hot dog stand and it cost me 75 cents to put that hot dog in your hand, and I was only charging you 50 cents, how long would I have the hot dog stand? People get that. So we have to have profit. The difference between us and a for-profit is what we do with the profit. For a for-profit, they can give it to a stockholder, someone who's bought stock. They can have an owner, it goes to the owner, percentage goes to the owner. Here, our profit goes back into the organization to serve our residents and to meet the needs of our staff. Lastly, community impact. As a not-for-profit organization, we're part of a larger community. As a faith-based organization, we're not an organization that is just here for self-serving. We're part of Lakeland. We're part of Dixieland. We're part of Central Florida. We're part of the state of Florida. We're part of the United States. We're part of this world in service to older adults. Is there a business reason why community impact is important and why we need to think about how are we helping as an organization the broader community? There is. We have a not-for-profit tax status. We're a 501c3. We get benefit from not having to pay sales tax. We get benefit if we have to do a tax-exempt bond financing. Those benefits have dollar value that affects our operation and affects our residents. If we lost that tax status because we weren't holding true to the standards of a not-for-profit, it would have a huge impact on this organization. So beyond the fact it's just the right thing to do to be a good neighbor as a not-for-profit in the community, it also has a business value to the organization as well. So those are the 5 pillars: our resident quality of life, employee satisfaction, healthcare excellence, financial stewardship and sustainability, and community impact. So those are large areas. From those large areas, we started to identify what are some of the key questions in those areas that this planning process needs to address. So as you go through and look at the PowerPoint, there's a list of questions. So just as an example, I'll pull a few. What is the master site plan for Florida Presbyterian Homes, defining a phased campus development that's aligned with the market, financially sound, improving our financial health, and can be funded through construction development? Without a master site plan, what ends up happening is organizations just build buildings based on what they think is the right thing at that point in time. What doesn't happen is that's all done in isolation in that point of time. What we're doing in master site planning is looking at the entire campus, doing a market feasibility study, internal with our residents and external with the broader community, to define what is needed. What do they need? What can they afford? What are they interested in? And then from that market information, we can start to look at and identify our buildings and say, do these buildings support those needs? Do these buildings have physical plant issues that are going to require significant investment? What is that investment? Is that investment going to help us in the market to capture the market? And then start to identify what is the plan over the next few years going out to 20 years. What are we looking at? What should we be doing? The master site plan will map out what we'll be doing in terms of development in the next 3 years and start to plan and have a position for the future. Otherwise, you get things like, well, we were looking at senior center and then we decided, nah, that's not going to work. So we said, let's go over and do skilled care. It can't work that way and be effective. It's got to be planned and thought out and part of a broader process and scope. What programs and services can we provide in Porter McGrath that best position Porter McGrath for the future? The organization has made a significant commitment to health care, to skilled care, to rehab. So our ability to attract a top-flight medical director, our ability to attract the hospital and build relationships with the hospitals, our ability to find out what our residents need, find out what the market needs, and see are there programs and services we're not providing today that if we provided them would benefit those we serve, but also improve our financial sustainability in Porter McGrath. So key area that the team is going to be working on and looking at and developing a plan. And we won't be developing it in isolation. We have representation from Lakeland Regional. Our state associations have agreed to participate. As Maria had invited, they've said, absolutely, we want to participate. So we've got a level of expertise looking at this that is really exceptional. And having the hospital at the table is very, very positive. So just to give you an idea, those are some of the questions we're seeking to answer through this planning process, which will take about 4 months to complete each of the action teams. So today, what you received today, and for those of you who aren't here in the room, we'll be sending to you is a folder, a file. In that file is a matrix spreadsheet that outlines the strategic planning process. What are the goals? How do we measure those goals? Other information, who the team leader is of each of the goal areas, and then who are some of the team members that we were recruiting for each of the teams. The next section is the Strategic Planning Program Handbook. Not everybody is a planning nerd. I'm a planning nerd. I love this stuff. But if you're a planning nerd, this is really important because what this defines all the different language that we use in the planning process. It defines the role of the action teams, the role of management, the role of the board planning committee. It outlines process in terms of what questions are we going to answer. It's a tool that if you really want to dig in and know, what are the basics of planning, this is an exceptional tool. The next document that is in your folder is the action plan development process. So it gives more detail on the goals. It identifies who we were recruiting to get on these teams. Each of the goals are identified. It identifies what type of data do we need in order to address each of these goals. And it also defines the questions again that we're trying to answer for each of these goals. So this is a tool. It's captured in that matrix really well. Then everybody got the same article, Senior Housing Trends. This is demographics, prospect expectations, technology, transportation, nanotechnology, and more. So this article, Senior Housing Trends, gives everybody the same baseline of information of what's happening in our field. Where is our field going? What direction is our industry, our field moving? So we wanted to make sure that we provided a background piece of information so everybody that is involved in this has a common understanding of where the industry is moving. Felt that was really important. Then in your packets, depending on the action teams that you're on, there will be articles that are specifically related to your area. Articles, information, websites, things that you can, as you prepare to attend these action team meetings, start to research and start to read. You may have information that's not in here that you want to bring to the action team, that you say, you know, I found an article online that I think it's important for us to know and for us to understand, for us to read. Please share information. In order for this to work, everybody has to be open-minded, including me. Everybody has to be open-minded. If somebody, please, Judy. I'm on the process, the kickoff process. Let's see, planning kickoff process, where to begin. Yep, that's all right. So in order for this to be successful, everyone has to have an open mind. You know, I can look at any of these goals and I go, oh, I've been doing this for 26 years. Here's where we should go. That's not good. That's not good for a resident to come into an action team and say, well, I want it to be this way. I think this is the way it needs to be, and I'm just going to drive that agenda. We want people that can process information, can be open-minded, can challenge each other in a professional, thoughtful way, and not drive an agenda or drive a position. It's really important that when we are in these action team meetings that people are comfortable asking questions, that people are comfortable saying, I don't know that that's a good idea, and here's why. Here's what I'm thinking. We have to have that level of comfort. That's where the best decisions are made. The best decisions aren't made with 5 people who think exactly alike, sitting in a room, just saying, yes, 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 that's it. Yeah, yep, 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 yep. It doesn't work. We need to have input. We need feedback. Each of you have unique experience and wisdom in life. Bring that to these meetings. Bring that to these discussions. If you have questions, comments, concerns, bring those. It's really important that we just don't have, well, this is the only way to do it. That's what we got to do. We won't get good answers doing it that way. So I'm moving on to the next page, which is an example. So you start to go, okay, Joe, what's the process? You know, I'm on this team. What's expected of me? What's the process that we're going to go through? So each of the team leaders, we had a team leader workshop with our members of the management team who are assigned to lead a specific goal team. Each of them received a binder of information. We did a training initiative. This process that you see here for meeting example 1 is a general outline. A team leader may look and say, I'm going to tweak it a little bit. I think this is my approach. But this is in general what we're going to do. In that first meeting, the team leader will review the goal and make sure everybody understands what is the goal that our action team is trying to achieve. What questions are we having to answer through this effort? The team leader will share with everyone, what are we doing today about this goal? There's a lot of these things we're already working on. There's things that are happening. So they need to share with everybody on the team, today, here's what we're doing that's relative to this goal. And then they'll review the information that you got today, the background information, and answer questions if there's additional information you guys want to get that so we can get you that information that you're looking for. And having an open discussion around what do we need as a team to develop our action plan. The last piece in that first meeting is a tool that's used in strategic planning probably since Socrates. I mean, it's a tool called the SWOT analysis. It's really basic. But if you look at your goal and you take that goal and you say, based on that goal, where are we strong? What are the 3 4 areas where we're really strong in that goal. Where are we weak? Where do we feel like there's gaps in that goal? Where are our opportunities to get better? Where can we grow? Where can we evolve to address that goal? And then where are our threats? Where are the threats to trying to meet that goal? So if you take an issue and you look at, let's say, master site plan, one of the things I personally would look at as a strength is our location. I think our location compared to our competition is so much stronger in terms of a location. So for master site planning, I'd say that's one of our strengths. One of our weaknesses in master site planning is cash flow. It's one of our things that in order to develop and build, how do we finance a project? We're not sitting on tons of money to be able to say we can fund a project. Even if we went out for investment financing, they're still going to ask, how much money are you putting into it? It's skin in the game that they're looking at. So our opportunities are, we have open land that is at New York, Highland, Cannon. There's open land, so that could be viewed as an opportunity. A threat is competition coming in and building in our area. So that just gives you an idea of how that one area, we do a SWOT analysis, and I've only listed one per each, but the master planning team will list 3 to 4 each for those areas. So then, once you've done your SWOT analysis, your second meeting is review the information, if there's additional information that you wanted and provided. Review the SWOT analysis to start prioritizing as an organization what we're going to work on. Determine if additional information is needed and specifically what that is, and then start to prioritize. In order to reach that goal, we've got 3 years. In year 1, what do we see as the greatest priority? What things do we need to get done in year 1? Then lesser priority but still important, what can we get done in year 2? What can we get done in year 3? Some of that will be driven by financial. We'll be looking and saying, well, we can afford this in year 1, we can afford this in year 2, and we can do this in year 3. So we start to prioritize, what can we do in that 3-year period? I moved on to meeting 3. So if there is new information, to review that new information, finalize the priorities on specific action steps, and then if you've come a long way and you've got pretty good clarity as a team, you can start to fill in the blanks of your action plan. Here's action step 1, action step 2, 3, 4. Here's the people who are leading it. Here's the people who are involved in it. Here's the timeline. So you can start to build your action plan. If you need a 4th meeting, you can do that. We've got it built out that the teams start in July, August, September, and into October. Our hope is that by the end of October, we'll have the majority of plans to review with the board in their October 29th meeting. For those that need additional time, we'll schedule meetings in November. They've got to be completed by the end of November, so we can hold a special meeting of the board to address those in December. So we'll meet in December if we need to. So the timing of this is we've got 4 months, and then it goes to the board planning committee, and then it goes to the full board for review. It's to be completed by January 1st of 2022. It'll run from January 1st of 2022 through the January 1st of 2022, 23 through December of 24. So the 3-year plan runs through 22, 23, and 24. At that point, we will look at it as a management team with the board, and we may start another planning process in 25. Or we may determine, will we just keep carrying this plan forward? We'll see how far we get in progress with it. So that gives you an idea of the timing. How will it be shared? Once we have the actual strategic plan, it'll be communicated to staff and employee town hall meetings. It'll be communicated to resident in resident chat, resident town hall meetings. We don't distribute the plan to everybody because I don't want somebody at Carpenter's with our plan. I don't want their plan. I don't want them to have our plan where they can look and say, oh, they're building that, we'll build this. You know, that's not a good thing. So that's why all of this is confidential. You're part of an action team now where we're asking you to keep this information within that team. You can ask questions of other folks, like you may say, you know, I'm going to ask some residents, what do they think about this, or what do they think about, that's fine. But not to be handing out, and because then what happens is I get phone calls, and I'm spending, and I'm not, it's not just everybody. I'll get phone calls. Well, I heard you're doing this, or I heard you're going to block this building. I heard you're going to, and then I'm spending all my time answering phone calls. So it's not a good, effective approach. So keep this information confidential. If you have questions, please let me know. So that's basically it. It's 11:45. I'm very grateful to all of you for participating in this. I will tell you, it's like making sausage. It's not pretty. Sometimes you go, oh my gosh, this is really hard. But at the end of the day, the product that we have, because it has input from so many different, well, that's lovely. But because so many people have had input in it, you'll see a better product, a better program. To the team leaders, I would invite the team leaders who are leading each of the action teams to come up right now so you can be introduced and know who the team leaders are. And really appreciate the team leaders because of the time and commitment that they're putting into this. Very grateful to each of you. So if you're on an action team, you're working with one of our team leaders on that action team. It's their responsibility to facilitate the process. If there's information you need that you don't have, you'll reach out to your team leader and say, you know, it seems like we should get this information in order to develop our plan. So I'm going to ask each of the team leaders to introduce themselves and share the teams that they're facilitating.
Hi, I'm Maria Rivera. I'm the administrator for Mcgrath Health Center and Assisted Living, and I am the team leader for Healthcare Excellence. I'm Kim Roberts. I'm Kim Roberts, HR Director, and I am the team leader for employee satisfaction.
Good afternoon. I'm Samantha Baird. I am the team leader for resident quality of life.
Joseph Campos, I'm the team leader for master site planning and philanthropy.
Skylar here. Increasing occupancy. Hello, I'm Pamela Herbert. I'm the Director of Nursing for Assisted Living, and I have the pleasure of working with dementia programs and also transitional care. Hello, I'm Allison Lynn, and I'm going to be working on providing wellness programming in all areas of the
I'm Dave Larson, Chief Financial
Loud.
Officer. I'll be in charge with everything coming from Capital Vice President.
I'm Heather. I'm the chaplain, and I will be in charge of community impact.
James is Director of Nutrition, and I'll be in charge of the dining program, so satisfaction.
Thoughts? Comments, questions? Is this anything today that was surprising or anything that anyone on the phone has questions or comments, thoughts, ideas? Okay. So over the next 2 weeks, your team leaders will be reaching out to you. One of the things you picked up today, for those of you who are here, is a yellow sheet that talks about schedule. So if you didn't get one, it looks like this. Yep. Looks like this. They were right. There you go. So what we're asking you to do is fill that out with your preferences of time for meetings, dates and times, and send that to Janine. And then Janine will work with the team leaders to block out dates and times for the meetings over the next 4 months. The meeting should last anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours at the most. Anything beyond that, people start to fade. So it's really important that we be succinct and direct in our meetings. For those who are in the master site planning team, that team kicks off in January. There's a packet I sent that has the process outlined for planning that was emailed to you guys from me. That team kicks off in January. We took the dollars that were budgeted for master site planning and put them into marketing this year. The dollars will be put back in January so we can start doing the market feasibility study. That'll be the first part of our process with master site planning. Yep.
I might want to comment that some people might have more than one packet.
That's right. David brings up a really good point. Many of you on multiple teams, so you may have more than one packet. So if you know that you're on more than one team, your packets up here, there may be a second or third packet for some who are on 3 different teams. But that information, the only difference will be the articles of information relative to each team is different. So if you know you're on another team, please come and pick those up. For the folks that are on the phone or folks that weren't able to connect due to the technology issues we had, we'll be mailing those out to you. So you'll be getting these. We'll start mailing tomorrow. We'll start putting these things and getting them out and mailing them out to you tomorrow. Okay. Comments, questions, thoughts? Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. To those on the phone, thank you.
Since I'm not going to be here tomorrow, do we have a few minutes today to go over a few things real quick?
Yeah, I should be.
About the doors?
Are they here? Oh, come